Welcome back to CBS 4K, and this is Star Wars Zero Company, the Star Wars Celebration 2025 panel. We're basically going to be watching these developers and this host talk about the show, about the game, and introduce it, show off various aspects of it and what their creative process was for it, and just overall get a good sense and feeling of the game. So, without further ado, let's begin.
And it is my honor to welcome to the stage. You gotta scream, you gotta yell, you gotta go a little bit crazy. Give it up for Lucy J!
Hey, Lucy!
Hello, Star Wars Celebration!
Hello, Lucy J!
I am Lucy James, and I could not be more honored
Okay, it's Lucy James.
to be here
Thought it
with
was
you
Lucy
all
James.
today because
Whatever.
I get the incredible job of presenting a very first look at the brand new Star Wars turn-based tactics game and lead a conversation with the creators at Bit Reactor, Lucasfilm Games, and Respawn Entertainment. Now, I'm not going to leave you waiting. Let's get that trailer.
Alright, let's watch one. We've already broke down the trailer, but I don't see any problem with rewatching it once again. I think the ship's design is okay. I don't know. Like, thinking about it, I don't know if I said it was bad or good in my review. It's been a while. But,
When people talk about the Clone Wars,
it kind of strikes
they
me
talk
as,
about
like,
the big moments.
the minivan of spaceships.
Planetary
I do like the internal. It does remind me of the Millennium Falcon. I like that about it.
cities bombed or rubble.
And this is good, like, getting the atmosphere of the
There's a
game
war
in your
you
head.
don't see. The one fought in the shadows. The war beneath the war.
I like the 3D
A war that's
video
won
thing
with
they
the
got
right
going there.
strategy. Surveillance,
It's a good tactical view of what's going
good
on.
old-fashioned sabotage. These aren't the heroes they tell stories about. They're professionals.
Oh, fashion. It does look like the Sky Ranger at various parts. When you look at it at various moments.
Setting aside their differences to take on the impossible.
Is that a droid Jedi? Yeah, I got those before. See what I mean? It kind of looks like the Sky Ranger. A little bit. Not full on, but yeah.
But that's the job. And they get it done.
Yeah. It looks like a nice, fun game. But
Did you like the trailer?
I would have liked to see a Star Wars Empire War
I'm
sequel.
sorry,
but,
I said,
yeah.
did you like the trailer?
It was pretty good. Yeah, that's alright.
Well, everyone, I'd love to
I was
formally
gonna
welcome you
sweep
to the
away with
Star
her
Wars
chariot.
Zero Company panel
Chariot
and to
panel.
talk about this brand new game coming to PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. Please let me introduce you to our wonderful panel. We've got Bit Reactors.
The crowd doesn't
Redford,
seem...
and
Well, the crowd
Aaron
seems into it, but... I don't know how the big
Films,
crowd
Ryan
is, though.
Kellogg and Kelsey Sharp.
Hey, everybody.
And
It's nice to meet all of you.
Entertainment's Jim Vasella. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Give them all a big round of applause, everyone. This is Creators Behind the Game.
Man, it's Japan. I don't know what their cultural
Let's go down
stance
the
are
line.
about cheering and
And
stuff
everyone
like that.
introduce yourselves and what
It's
you do in
probably
the
just
game,
regular
right?
weird, like
Thanks, Lucy.
Westerners
Before
in
we
the
get started,
audience. That's
we have a
cheering.
whole team home working on the game. You think you guys could give them a little shout out, give them a little love?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, thanks everybody.
Everybody cheer for him.
I'm Greg Birch. I'm the gamer director at Bit Reactor. I originally pitched this game to Lucasfilm,
Okay, so
and
you're
my
the
job
Barney.
is to oversee
You're
the
the
entire
idea
development of
man.
Zero Company.
I'm Aaron Contreras, narrative and cinematic director. I lead the team responsible for the game's story, characters,
storyteller?
and gameplay systems. This is my third Star Wars project following Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor.
Cool. So those were 2 good games. Yeah, I gotta give it to them.
Hi, I'm Jim Vasella.
I played the
senior
second one of
producer
those,
at
but I did play
Respawn,
the first one.
helping with the full production of the game. I'm a lifelong Star Wars fan. I'm the type of person who camped out for the prequels in high school and college. And as a producer, I've been making strategy
You know, some
games
people
for
say they don't
20
like the
years.
prequels, but
And
I'm
so
one of
this
the
was a
opinion
dream
that the
project for me
prequels,
when I heard about it, and I jumped at the opportunity.
particularly
to
the third
join
one,
right at the
they
start.
were pretty good. They were pretty good. They were They were solid Star Wars entries.
Hi everyone, I'm Kelsey Sharp. I'm a
They
creative
added to the
executive
lore
at
and a whole bunch of other
Lucasfilm.
stuff.
I work on anything Star Wars that has a story across our franchise, so not just video games, but books,
I mean, they weren't
comics, and
perfect, but,
animation
you
as
know.
well. I'm also part of the team that oversees the lore.
I
and
like the
continuity
prequels
of
a
galaxy
lot more than I like the
Conqueror,
sequels,
but luckily
I'll
that job
just
is
say
pretty
that.
easy when I'm working with big fans like Greg, Jim, and Aaron.
And hey everybody, I'm Orion Kellogg, executive producer with the Lucasfilm Games team, and I look after many of the Star Wars projects that we have in development.
Okay.
For me, Star Wars is all about meaningful choice. So
All right.
it's about time we have a strategy game, right?
Sure, why not?
Right on. And we're really excited about that. And another thing we're excited about is the continuity of this team. Kelsey and I have been working with Respawn and Aaron and some other folks in the crowd
What do you
here
mean
for almost 10
continuity?
years now. And we really hope that togetherness and continuity shows in Star Wars Zero
Why do you
Company.
keep mentioning continuity?
What a crew! A round of applause.
Don't worry, you probably
Well,
can't
I mean,
screw up the
let's get
continuity.
things
Oh my,
started with a
oh my
thing
goodness, they'll
that's
screw up the
very
continuity of the game. That was him telling a subtle message.
Greg, just what exactly is Zero Company, and how did this game
All
come
right.
to be?
Thanks, Lucy. Yeah, Star Wars Zero Company is a
Lucy.
single-player turn-based tactics game with an original story set during the Clone Wars. We formed BitReactor back in 2021. And we
Okay,
had this
fairly
idea
recent.
that turn-based tactics games are a genre that just has so much room to improve on with innovation in storytelling and immersion, and
I
really
agree with those
reach
sentiments.
more fans than people really think. So we really went in that direction with it. That's how we've really been focused for the past several years. While that was working, while I started, we'd been working a few prototypes, had some concepts for some games. Then, when out of nowhere, I got a phone call from Vince Zampella.
Wait, how do you get your number?
Just looked it up. I don't know.
Just casually getting a call
Like,
from Vince
phone books
Zampella.
don't exist anymore, right? Anyway, so now if you don't recognize that name, Vince is the head of Respawn Entertainment and has been behind some of the biggest games in the industry, like the Star Wars Jedi franchise. Vince was asking me for my thoughts on creating a Star Wars game. Now, I've been a Star Wars fan since I saw A New Hope in the theaters when I was 4 years old. So I think you can all imagine my reaction, right? Lots of excitement followed by lots of anxiety.
Don't worry, man. Your game is not high profile enough to really mess up the brand or cause any damage. But if it goes badly, if it goes well, however, it will be huge for you. It will be huge for everything. So I can understand some anxiety, but I would say, focus on doing the best game you can. Would be my recommendation.
So we
And
talked
take your time
about the
with it.
possibilities of developing a tactics game with the most beloved, most storied franchises in the world. And it's the perfect combination. Honestly, one that I couldn't believe had never been done before. So now we fast forward to today. We're working really closely with Respawn, Lucasfilm Games, to leverage their history of making incredible
I'll take a
games
sip of water.
to make
guys.
this amazing new Star Wars game. And while we're at it, I can't say enough about our partners here. They've been absolutely
Pulled away from the
best
mic
and
so you
super
wouldn't hear it.
supportive of us. So couldn't ask for a better group.
Well, right back at you, Greg.
Oh,
Like I said before, Lucasfilm Games, we're big strategy game fans here, and it really was about time, right? And with BitReactor,
Sure
we
you
have a strategy veteran.
If it was if it was any other game, it was like, yeah, we're big puzzle games. You ever working on an action game? Yeah, we're big action game fans. Like, yeah, huh?
like Greg and a lot of
I'm sorry for being a little bit like, yeah, but you know, it's one of those, like, been one of those days, man.
the other team members at Bit Reactor, they know what they're doing there. They have a lot of other extremely bright, talented devs working there. Hello to all of you watching. They're all Star Wars fans, and it's true. And so I think when you combine that, we know they're going to make a great Star Wars game. We know they're going to make a great strategy game, and hopefully together they really innovate the genre. So, Greg, we couldn't be happier to have you in Bit Reactor, and we couldn't be happier to have
it's going to work.
Zero Company.
I love this love.
It's too early.
So much love.
This is too early for me to say yes. It was great.
The trailer has such a different tone and vibe from what we've seen from more modern and recent Star Wars.
Okay, I don't want to get too like overly excited for this. I know I've been too excited for this game, and you don't want to get too excited for certain games because you don't know what they're gonna be when they get out of the oven. You don't know if they're gonna be bad or good. So I'm trying to temper my expectations, which I recommend for everyone to temper your expectations, so you're not upset when the game comes out. It's like, ew, it's not perfect. Arr! I'm trying to temper my expectations down to like bare minimum, but hopefully they give some good ideas on where the game is headed and what they've accomplished so far.
Wars games. Greg, can you talk a little bit about the vision for the game?
Sure. When we set out to develop Zero Company, we wanted to create an experience where the deep history of Star Wars and their galaxy is married with the engaging gameplay of turn-based tactics of the turn-based tactics genre. In that process, we established 4 design pillars that we hold ourselves to every day. The first is start with Star Wars. It sounds simple, but you know what that really means to us is we stay true to the franchise.
That is supremely important. Do you know how many pieces of entertainment that diverged wildly from the franchise and essentially screwed it up, the entire thing they were working on, whether it be a book or a comic book, a movie or TV show or a video game, and they just completely dropped the ball. Like, there's a few that come to, I don't want to throw anything under the bus because one of you like it, but for the most part, there's been a number of things. Star Wars. For instance, Star Wars, The Acolyte TV show. A lot of people hated it. And it wasn't by accident. Like, it was such a far and away departure from what most of Star Wars. Also, Andor. People have liked Andor, but then there was a controversial scene. There was a mention of SA, and people got upset about that. If you don't know what SA means, you can look that up. We're not allowed to say that on YouTube. So, yeah, it was that bad. So, I wouldn't say it's counterintuitive to the entire franchise, but it did feel a little awkwardly placed in the franchise, having that scene in there in Andor. But here, I don't see them doing anything too weird or out there. They seem to understand the franchise to a certain degree. They understand the lore. They understand the history of it. I think they can do a pretty good job. Hopefully.
Part of that pillar is working with people that know Star Wars inside and out. So not only does that mean working with Lucasfilm Games, but also people like Aaron, who works at Bit Reactor now. But Aaron used to work at Respawn, where he helped develop 2 of the most successful Star Wars games ever made in the Jedi series.
Thanks. Yeah, when I joined the project, Greg and the team had already chosen the Clone Wars era, which is just a fantastic setting for a turn.
It's a solid era.
And I think it's worth noting that we're also working alongside Gordy Habb, the award-winning composer from the Jedi series, on our music and soundtrack.
That's good. That's good.
And Gordy's going to bring a new
solid
feel,
it was a solid soundtrack,
genre, and of course deliver on that authentic Star Wars sound.
So the second pillar that we really follow is meaningful choices, and that's where thoughtful decisions impact the gameplay.
You're going to play as Hawks, who's a customizable hero who leads Zero Company. The decisions you make, what jobs to take, Who to assign to your squads and how you fight on the battlefield will have pivotal consequences in every playthrough of the game.
And the third, and this is one that's very close to me, is we want the game to be cinematic and approachable. Something that I've been kind of championing for a long time in my career. And this is where the genre, I think, can really be great. The thing we try to live by is the depth of the game shouldn't really cost you elegance in how the game is presented, right? Like depth and immersion, they're not mutually exclusive things. As players, you should expect both and you should get them. So, you can see in the screenshot, we move the camera around depending on where the gameplay moment is and what we want you to feel as a player. So yeah. And when we first started talking about this game, I think one of the very first Zoom calls we had with Orion, I was describing, how we really wanted to change this perspective. And I described it to him and he summed it up. So kind of borrowing from him, he said that depth shouldn't cost you elegance, and it's really something that's stuck with me. And,
that is true. Depth shouldn't cost you. Just because the game's deeper doesn't mean it shouldn't be elegant. Presentation counts for a lot. That's one of the reasons why the XCOM reboots did so well, was because they had a lot of cinematic quality to them that is unmatched by most other strategy games. And unmatched by other tactics games, because they don't really do that. They don't really have cutscenes playing. They don't really have a storyline. Like, the idea of XCOM Enemy Unknown being sort of like a B movie was a good idea, because somebody's seen an alien B movie from the 1950s or 60s that, like, you've seen at least one of them or have a vague idea. So it was a great cultural touchstone that made it easy for everyone to kind of sync up with the ideas presented.
Later, we really, really try to follow.
We just want great games.
I mean,
Here.
Everyone wants great games.
the fourth is strategy and combat. And with that,
It would be weird if we met somebody who didn't want great games. We wanted terrible games. Yeah, but I think if they hold true to the other three pillars and this one right here, strategy and tactics, I think you're about to say, then yeah, this should be a solid game.
what that really means is think high stakes battles
Mhm.
with deep gameplay choices where we're
Yeah.
delivering on both the tactical and the strategic layers as one cohesive experience. It's not just something that players experience in two separate halves.
That's what worked again with the reboots of the XCOM franchise. They married those two so well. Like anything you did on the tactical layer influenced the strategic layer, and vice versa. It was hard to do in a development way, but in a gameplay way, it really made the game feel like a complete world every time you went into a mission. It didn't feel like you were playing a different game mode. You were playing the same game mode, but you were doing a close-up in a one-on-one battle. Not one-on-one, but, a battle, or you were going out into the long view and the big picture and just trying to figure out how to run a counter-offensive to an alien invasion, which is always an interesting aspect of the XCOM series that really makes it a unique bird overall. Like, there's no other game that quite does that. No other game franchise or gameplay style that lends itself to that idea.
Something that's woven together through the gameplay along with the narrative. So all this together, and if we've done it right, and I think we have, it results in a core loop of gameplay that's got thoughtful pacing and decision-making, coupled with an amazing original Star Wars story.
Amazing. And I mean, all of this is so important because getting that Star Wars feeling is so
Yeah.
important to get right. Orion,
It's hard to
really
describe
interested to
it.
hear your thoughts. Like, what were you thinking? What was going through your head when you saw the pitch for
But
Zero
once you get it,
Company?
you got it.
Was it an email? Was it a PowerPoint presentation?
I think we probably started on a Zoom, like most things these days, right?
Yeah.
So we started on a call, and I knew we had Respawn, we had BitReactor, and with Respawn, we've been telling stories with them for over a decade. I already talked about that. We were excited. We hope you're excited for another Respawn story, right? And with BitReactor, we knew their legacy. We were fans of the games that they have made, absolutely, and we knew what they were capable of doing. And so I was like, okay, let's do this. I'm stoked, absolutely stoked. I think that's the precise term. And so making a strategy game in Star Wars, what do we have to do? What's our role in this? Well, let's give them a place where they can make meaningful decisions in the galaxy. Let's find a spot where they can make the best game possible, and hopefully we've done that.
I mean, let's dive into the setting, because the game is set in the Clone Wars era. I mean, Kelsey, Aaron, can you tell me a little bit about why this setting is so perfect for a game like Zero Company?
Definitely. So the Clone Wars are kind of a unique part of our timeline, right? Because when you look at the stories that we tell in the Age of Rebellion or the Age of Resistance, they tend to feature almost exclusively asymmetrical warfare, right? It's like a little guy going up against insurmountable odds. But the Clone Wars are uniquely perfect for Zero Company because it's when we see two relatively evenly matched forces, the Republic and the Separatists. And that backdrop creates so many interesting places for Aaron and his team to set their camera for their story, right? Because we know the conflict is unfolding across multiple planets, across the galaxy. There are multiple different forces and factions, some of which have conflicting allegiances that shift over time. There are, boots on the ground altercations, but there's also smaller strategic initiatives, and it's those kinds of clandestine missions where I think this very intimate and character-focused story that Aaron's team is working on really gets to shine, and that's why.
Okay, so I do like it because, again, the way she described it, the era they picked lends itself very well to the gameplay is the idea they're using here. Yeah, pretty smart of them, actually.
I'm so excited why everyone at Lucasfilm is so excited for Zero Company, because if you've watched the Clone Wars, and I have a feeling some of you in this audience have, you know that we have never shied away from showing how complicated that conflict was, all the shades of gray, but I really think Zero Company is going to be one of the first times that players actually get to go hands-on with that, the war beneath the war that was mentioned in the trailer.
Yeah, we're inspired by the political intrigue of Andor, the gritty battlefield perspective of Rogue One, and of course the mythic pulp adventure of the original trilogy. We love how all of those stories respect the intelligence and attention of the Star Wars audience, and we aim to do the same.
No, I noticed they didn't mention the sequel, whatever.
None of the characters in Zero Company are flawless or immune to a fatal case of blaster poisoning. You'll have to lead your team with care and conviction, and at times make difficult decisions with permanent consequences.
Ooh, well, I'm dying to hear more. I'm dying to hear more about the story. Aaron, what can you tell us about the story and who we're going to play as?
Yeah, you're going to play as Hawks.
Yes.
They're a disgraced former Republic officer who now leads Zero Company. They're an elite outfit for hire specializing.
Okay, why was he disgraced? It also sounds like they're a mercenary band. I'm curious to hear about why he was disgraced, but we'll probably get into that and then we get our hands in the game.
Strategic investigations and high-risk tactical missions.
Mm-hmm.
The operators under Hawks' command are a ragtag band of hero, outlaws, and exiles from all walks of life. You'll have to unite them against an emerging threat that, if left unchecked, will spread across the galaxy and consume everything in its path.
Ooh.
Set against the epic backdrop of the Clone Wars, you must lead Zero Company in a shadow war against a corrupting force that no conventional army is equipped to counter.
Yeah, if there's one thing we know from Star Wars, it's that those who seek power and control will also seek opportunities and opportunistic allies. And the face that they wear when we first meet them might look very different from the face that they wear by the end of the story. And it's those kinds of questions, like the big questions: who are my true allies? Who are my true adversaries? What do my adversaries actually want? That we think the players and Zero Company are going to be chasing down answers to together.
Yep. But Hawks can't find those answers alone, and that's where your team comes in. You'll build your squad from a mix of custom characters you create and original Star Wars characters authored for the game, and all of them will have a story that evolves as you play through the game.
Fascinating. The problem with most games that just have custom built, this is the problem with XCOM, is that it's hard to really tell the story with just those characters. But I would argue that you can tell a better story with custom characters because you're imposing it on yourself, and you're basically mentally telling the story yourself without actually having the game tell you the story. You're telling a story of how that one rookie went from a nobody who could barely hit a shot to this badass who can wipe out entire squads of enemy troops by themselves. Like, it depends on how you want to pursue the character developments and what I mean by character development, but the leveling up system, like the progression system for the characters and various other aspects of the gameplay. But you can still do a very interesting story with custom characters.
Well, it sounds like we're going to have plenty of options to build.
I'd say story-based ones are useless, but yeah.
Version of Zero Company. We got a
That's what made
little bit of a
XCOM
tease of
unique.
some of the members of the squad. Can you and Kelsey?
All right, let's hear what the...
Heck yeah. So this is Trick. He's a clone soldier whose laconic wit masks a haunted heart. Trick has been with Hawks since they both served in the Republic military and was injured in the same disaster that cost Hawks their career.
Yeah, it's not a Clone Wars era story without a clone character's perspective. And as our Celebration audience knows, the clones might all look alike, but each one has their own personality. And I think you're going to have a lot of fun getting to know Trick because, as Aaron alluded to earlier, the members of Zero Company can be drawn from all around the galaxy, and that includes from across battle lines. So one particularly incendiary member is Luco Bronk. He is an Umbaran sharpshooter who still hasn't forgiven the Republic for invading his homeworld, but that shadowy adversary that we alluded to earlier is going to be such an intimidating threat that we'll actually see a Republic clone trooper like Trick and a separatist Umbaran soldier like Lugo teaming up on the same side.
But if left unchecked, those divisions on the squad could escalate into conflict or worse. Next up, we've got Clyde Kalervo.
Fascinating.
They're an infamous Mandalorian gunslinger.
And the reason I say it sounds fascinating, I know we were getting separatists. That adds a new wrinkle to the Solar situation. Yeah, that could actually work in the game's favor. Let's see what else.
Here, and one of the last surviving members of the ancient clan Verminoth. She joined Zero Company.
Okay, for those of you who are experts in Star Wars lore, go ahead and write down if this is true for this character.
Company because she sees them as the most direct route to completing a very personal vendetta.
I love that design. I want to join Clan Verminoth. And something tells me that if this audience is excited for a Mandalorian, you might be excited for a Jedi too. So in this case, it's our Padawan Telria. Telria is on a quest to finish her fallen Jedi Master's final mission. Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Tel's character design was actually one of the first pieces of character concept art that we saw from Star Wars Zero Company, and she hasn't really changed very much since that very first submission. Of course, I love all Star Wars aliens equally, but...
no, you don't. You don't have to lie. You don't have to lie here.
It's always fun to see a different alien species as a Jedi and explore their unique perspective on the Force.
Awesome. Yeah, my... one of my roles at Lucasfilm is working on our lore and continuity team, and so I'm always excited to see a character like Tel because if you're familiar with the species of Tognath, really the most known Tognath character that we have from the brand is Two Tubes from Rogue One and from Andor. Yeah, woo, Two Tubes! But obviously, like, he and his brother represent a very particular hardline perspective on the galaxy because they're part of Saw's partisans. And so I love to see a character like Tel, right, who was raised by the Jedi, who probably has a very different perspective on the galaxy.
Again, this adds a new wrinkle to it. It makes the game a little bit more interesting when you add characters like this. But Two Tubes, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I do remember from Rogue One. I do remember.
See, I mean, spoiler alert, she does. Because one of my favorite things is getting to remember that in Star Wars, it's not just the humans who are the characters, it's the aliens as well.
Yeah.
And she has 2 lightsabers. That's pretty cool.
She also has 2 lightsabers.
Yeah, 2 lightsabers.
So these are 4 of the operators you can recruit into Zero Company over the course of the story, and we'll have more to reveal as time goes on.
Okay.
But you're always free to create, recruit, and deploy a full squad of entirely custom heroes if you want to.
All right.
Ooh, well, I mean, Hawks in the trailer says, and I'm gonna murder this voice. I'm sorry. They're professionals, setting aside their differences to take on the impossible. I'm not available for voice work. Don't even try. But that to me sounds like maybe they're not the best of friends.
You are exactly right, Lucy. Not everyone in Zero Company sees eye to eye, but the more they work together and face it...
Lucy, that was very you noticed that was very good, Lucy. Very good. Very good. All right, high five on Lucy for noticing that about the gameplay. About noticing about the game. I didn't pick that up. She did.
Diversity.
Give her a round
The
of
deeper their
applause.
bonds grow, and the stronger your team becomes. You'll see that reflected across both story and gameplay.
We mentioned
Will they have a
gameplay,
bonding
but
system
before we
like
dive,
XCOM 2?
a little bit deeper into that, I do want to come back
One
to
of the
something
chosen?
I heard Aaron mention a couple times.
It might.
Greg,
This is like 50.
did he say customization in a Star Wars game?
Yes.
He definitely did. So you can
Good luck with
personalize
that.
the
There's going to be a
person
lot.
voice
There's going to be
and
alien
class.
races.
So as you can see, this
Oh, I
is a
see
feature
they
from
went into
the
it.
Best tactics games, and we're ecstatic
Skin
to see Star Wars
color,
fans make with it.
gender, alien
You can play
race.
as any combination of Hawks that you want, and it's just super powerful. So we're providing players with this deep customization system that extends to individual characters you can create and recruit in Zero Company as well. So you'll choose from a variety of archetypes, select their species, range of authentic Star Wars options like custom astromechs, Rhodians, humans, and fully customize their appearance and outfits. You can even rename them to your liking.
Cool.
What if I wanted to go all astromech?
Well,
D Squad.
you can actually do that.
Yes.
Really?
I love that murderer's row of astromechs. And I also love what you were saying about customization, Greg, because we had so many conversations during production about how, as fans of this genre, you really want to feel like, well, these are my characters. This is my Zero Company, and the choices that I make in gameplay mean I'm going to have a different playthrough from the game playthrough that you're going to have because of your choices. But at the same time, as Star Wars fans, we're always kind of wondering, like, well, how does this impact the larger story? Do my choices really matter? And
That's
I think
a very good
you and
question.
the team at Bit Reactor have done such a good job at really threading that needle so that every player is going to understand how their Hawks and their Zero Company are impacting the larger Star Wars timeline.
Yeah, for sure. We can tell they are really happy with being able to customize their character, customize their squad.
Customization is
at
very
Lucasfilm
important.
Games that you've been wanting to do that, and we're really happy to let you step
Right,
into the
yeah, I
galaxy
am.
with your team.
You've been
And we're also
very
really happy to
positive
see how
about
you're
it, but I
going to
don't know if the
combine
limitations are.
your creations.
They might have
with
very few
our
limitations.
creations and the authored characters.
Just by
Not only is
looking
it going to
at
impact
what
the
they gave us
story,
so far.
but it's also going to impact the gameplay. Yes, there are ramifications
I just see a Wookiee up there.
for rolling deep with astromechs, but I think impacting gameplay pretty awesome too.
I mean, let's jump into talking about gameplay. Greg, what can you tell us about what we'll be doing when we're playing as Hawks in the game?
So as Aaron mentioned, this is a story about an emerging new threat, and Zero Company will have to do to stop it. Choosing your best squad for each mission is key because the stakes are just so high.
So high, in fact, that even permadeath and the limited ability to save your game are available on certain difficulty settings. Now, that being said, if you are first and foremost a Star Wars fan, and if you are maybe a newcomer to the strategy genre or the tactics genre, we'll have difficulty settings so that you can also enjoy the story and get through the game. But no matter what difficulty you choose to play on, you'll have the most fun by creating a versatile strategy and utilizing all the variety of weapons and abilities and more to be successful.
So that means my tail can live forever, right?
The Clone Wars is a dangerous time for some Jedi.
All right. So in between adventuring across the galaxy to
The crowd seems like they're interested in it, but they're not really interested in it. I don't know if that's because the crowd's so small, or that they're not English speakers, or it's not like sort of their, I guess against their sort of their culture to do so. But yeah, it feels like they're not all that hyped for it.
to embark on these missions, you'll return to Zero Company's base of operations, a place we call the Den, which is located on the Ring for Freeing, which you may remember from Rogue One.
Yeah, and here you'll be able to socialize and catch up with your team as well as recruit,
totally
customize, and outfit all those new operators. And throughout the game,
I want
you'll
to see
be
it.
able
I want to see the
upgrade
concept.
this
Well,
space
concept art's a
to
nice start.
really fit the needs of your play style for Zero Company. The Den also has this incredible galaxy map where you'll get to choose what strategic tasks and tactical missions to go on next.
Oh, that's good.
Players are going to always balance risk and reward to stay ahead of their adversaries and gain a leg up in the next fight. As you all well know, the galaxy is always shifting and changing as the Clone Wars progresses, and so you as a player will have to be adapting your strategy as well.
Well, Orion, can you elaborate a little bit on how this game fits into the overall Star Wars galaxy?
Well, yeah, like I said before, our job at Lucasfilm was to give Bit Reactor this huge playground to play in, and as Kelsey was talking, the Clone Wars, huge campaign, so many things going on, really an infinite platform for all the stories the player can wrap their arms around.
I really want to see more about the galaxy map. I think that would be the next big reveal trailer they should probably focus on is the campaign map. And maybe because we saw a little bit of tactical layer for me to get a good idea of it. So I wouldn't say I don't want to see any more, but that little taste was enough. Strategic map, I'm not so sure about that.
So in the den, when you're interacting with the galaxy map, on scale alone, you're dealing with the biggest and most immersive map we've ever put out in a game. So while it's early in development,
that's good. All right. Reports of investigated separatist activity in region may stem from secret base on Capella. Further details are unknown. Requires 4 units. Capella, major operation. Timer 2. Interesting.
I want to give you a sneak peek at the place where you're going to see how your choices.
It's like they read my mind. I like it.
And we think that doing that in this time frame with this squad is going to really stand out and make Zero Company really special.
That's right, Orion. And this is going to provide us some exciting innovation opportunity for the genre with how you can influence your journey through the story. And alongside interacting with the map at this broader level, a selection of these planets will also be viable for the tactical missions you go on, allowing players to deep dive into richly detailed, authentic Star Wars battle locations, both new and familiar. And Orion, say, might be infiltrating a separatist base on one planet, while Kelsey might be raiding a pirate outpost on another. And these are a few examples of the types of missions and locations you have to go on throughout the Star Wars journey.
Jim, I think in one of the first in-person conversations we ever had, which was, I believe, at a restaurant in San Francisco during GDC.
He was wearing a bib.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe some cioppino was being eaten at the time.
Okay.
But you mentioned how, as a fan and a producer, you were so excited and, geeked out about translating our very expansive galaxy map into this really cool, immersive, and interactive feature. And I think first of all, I just think you're all going to have so much fun, going through the interactive map, seeing all the.
I like the map you showed so far.
But
it looked pretty good. It did pique my interest with that map. You did a good job.
That level of fidelity also means that you're going to get to have some really fun gameplay on planets that you might recognize from some of our other storytelling. So, Greg mentioned earlier that the Den is based on the Ring of Kafrene from Rogue One, and you might have heard it shouted out in a certain episode of Andor Season 2 if you happened to be in that panel earlier today. Woo!
Okay, that was more easy there.
And then I'm excited to confirm that the planet that you saw the heroes disembarking on at the end of that trailer is Seralonis. So Seralonis was originally developed for the Clone Wars and then first seen on screen for the first time in Bad Batch Season 2. And you'll get to go to some other, cool deep cuts and Easter egg type planets as well. Snowy Vandor from Solo, as well as a newer planet, Mapuzo from the.
So they're using a lot of lore to set up a lot of planets
and more.
So many.
How many maps are they going to set up in there? Because another thing that you're going to have to focus on is campaign tactical maps. So if you just only 10 or 15, you might be able to get away with it. But an ideal number would be somewhere between 24 or 35 maps.
More.
Is that a Nexus?
It looks like it.
You could do procedurally generated ones, but
teases, absolute teases. Jim, earlier you mentioned that you could socialize with your squad mates. I'm dying to see the Zero Company group chat, but I really
socialization. I don't know if that's. I don't want to say. Okay. Mass Effect did it well. The fact that people keep doing it. I know some people like it, but I don't exactly hate it. But it's sort of like I would be okay if you skipped a few of them. I would be 100% okay.
How those social dynamics come into play when you get to the gameplay?
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, every decision matters for you and Zero Company, from the next mission that you choose to go on, but more specifically, what squad members you choose to send on each one of those missions. An important factor in the dynamics of those choices and their consequences is how the squad members will bond together over time, where you can turn, enemies and rivals into trusted allies. For example, as Aaron and Kelsey were mentioning earlier, Trick, our clone trooper, and Luco, our Mbaran, don't exactly seem to get along.
Yeah.
But if you choose to invest in that partnership by sending them on missions together, they may be able to improve that bond over time, and that could ultimately decide their fate in the game.
Yeah, this is, when I was talking about Clown Family earlier, this is really where that comes into play and impacts the gameplay. I think it's the kind of thing, these battles forged on the battlefield, evolving, is the kind of thing that means no two playthroughs are alike, and I think that's going to make everything really special.
Yeah, and additionally, it's really important to emphasize that this bond system applies to both the authored characters, as you saw in the trailer, but also all of the custom characters that you create yourself. So as all of these characters grow more experienced as they go on battles together, they're going to unlock new combat synergies, such as, say, teamwork reaction shots. And this has been one of the real treats working with Greg and the team at Bit Reactor, is that they're bringing their expert experience in making strategy games to Star Wars Zero Company. And we've seen this manifest in the gameplay with features like this.
No, couldn't agree more. Pillar number one was start with Star Wars, right? And I think when you plant those seeds early, as the game starts to develop and the abilities and characters start to get fleshed out, you see the Star Wars emerge. So you might be playing a tense mission where one of your characters is about to permanently die, and one of your astromech buddies might roll in and be able to toss them a healing stim, and that's a very Star Wars moment. Or you might be rolling with, I'm sure Kelsey will be rolling with Tal.
Don't remember that movie,
and Tal will be able to use the Force and push somebody out of cover so that a sniper can take them down. And it's those kind of moments that just emerge as you're playing that make it not only a really deep strategic gameplay experience, which is really, really, really important, but also feel like one that could only happen in Star Wars.
That's very important.
I'm loving hearing you.
That's very important, because if it doesn't feel like Star Wars, it doesn't have that Star Wars energy about it, it kind of falls flat in my experience.
You all talk about this game. It sounds like it has definitely been designed with the Star Wars galaxy.
Even though I like Andor, it doesn't feel like Star Wars to a lot of people, and I agree with that sentiment, because it doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. It feels like a light hints of Star Wars here and there, but for the most part, it feels like a different sci-fi show altogether, a different sci-fi franchise altogether, and it's just, I wouldn't say makes it bad, but I like Andor, but I'm fully aware of its problems. Let's put it that way.
Mind and all of the fun that unlocks for all of us players. Very excited to get my hands on it. What do you reckon?
So focusing on making the brand work with it, it will make the fandom, I wouldn't say, it'll be more accepting. They'll be more accepting of it. They won't be as like, this doesn't feel like Star Wars, and just like turn it off. They'll, okay, this feels like Star Wars. It's not like my type of game or my type of cup of tea, but I'll give it a chance, and you might win a few more people over.
Do you have any other little reveals or hints you want to give this wonderful celebration crowd?
Yes, go ahead.
Maybe.
Maybe? You gonna make them work for it?
I mean, that's why we're here in Japan, right? Yeah. In Star Wars, ships and droids are built to last and almost always bring this strong sense of history and personality with them.
Yeah.
And Zero Company, of course, like everyone, needs a ride to get from the den to their missions. So I'm truly excited to say we've created our own new starship for Star Wars Galaxy. This starship is a great example of the approach and care that the team has put into every environment, every detail, every character, their personalities all the way down. So lots of attention to the detail in there. So we really do view this ship as a character, right, when we're making it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's built with the idea that we want to have a personality, and we want to think that it's got it fits really well in the Star Wars universe with all those iconic ships. So this is the Caisson.
Yeah, I just want to shout out the Bit Reactor art department quickly, because obviously there's always iteration when you're designing something new for Star Wars.
Yeah.
But, like, they...
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Departments everywhere.
Yeah.
But I feel like they...
Like, I was making comments earlier, but I didn't hate the design. I thought the design was fine.
Really got sort of...
And looking here, it looks pretty good.
Design very quickly, and one of my favorite parts of my job is getting to open up an email or a new JIRA ticket and say like, oh wow, amazing art for me to look at.
It's an awesome experience, because like you go from being fans, right, and we're all fans, to then being students for several years of it and really diving deep into it. And you guys make it easy. You guys keep us on track and give us some great information as we're studying the lore and really getting into the Star Wars of it.
And clearly every ship needs a go-to pilot.
Okay.
Could you give us a little bit of insight on how you landed on a droid
Well,
to pilot the Caisson?
so while we're at
I
it,
like him.
I didn't know droids could pilot FTL, like, faster than light ships.
I mean, you're making a ship, right? You may as well make a droid. So yeah, when we thought about, the ship, we were thinking, well, who's going to drive it? So we realized we had an opportunity now to not only just make a ship, but now we can make a droid too. So how often does that happen?
I'm not saying
right?
they can't
4-year-old me
do it.
was
I just thought
sharing.
they would.
So, we
Fascinating.
we got to create our own ship, and the droid lives in Star Wars gameplay forever. So we knew the ship had to be versatile to accommodate all the different missions that it could be taking Zero Company on. Of course, we wanted our pilot droid to have a really unique personality too. So after, lots of conversations between our team and the teams at Lucasfilm, and just maybe a couple iterations, we came up with the Caisson, and it's a pilot, Mevo, who will be joining Zero Company on this journey to the galaxy.
What's his personality like?
That's M3VO. Mevo.
So cute. Who doesn't love a new droid to fall in love with? No, we are kind of wrapping up here, folks. But do we have any last words to say from the group?
Sure. If you couldn't tell by now, hopefully you can see how passionate we all are when it comes to Star Wars. And Zero
Pleased with
Company.
what you've been told so far.
We
I have
can't
no
wait for
problems
players
with
to
it.
experience our authentic Star Wars story through every aspect of the game, from choice and consequence to custom.
But that being said, I'm still on, let's wait to see more information before we make any final, this is going to be a great game statements. Give it some time.
Down to the course of tactics and strategy. This game genre in general just blends so nicely with the galaxy, and we really just can't believe nobody's done it before.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun collaborating with the teams at Bit Reactor, Respawn,
I have
and
done it
Lucasfilm.
before. It's just
I am
a lot of
incredibly proud
stuff,
of the
too.
fantastic writers, designers, and cinematic artists on my team, and we hope all of you enjoy playing Zero Company's story as much as we did making it.
I'm excited to hear more about it. But I don't want to say I'm really, into the game until we see more
Right.
from it.
Star Wars at its core, it's all about characters, right? And as we keep coming up with new gameplay
It's
scenarios and
trepidation.
new
It's
stories
not
to tell, there are going to be all sorts of opportunities for surprises that we'll announce in the future. But we can't wait to hear what you all speculate, who we might run into in this game.
I don't think they'll do too much about
Yeah, so as you can
the
tell,
Clone
we're
Wars,
just getting
maybe
started talking about Star Wars Zero Company, and we are excited to share more of what we're building when we're ready very soon. So, and Star Wars Zero Company is releasing on into 2026. Wow. It's coming close. On PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S.
Amazing. Well, you heard it here first, folks. A new Star Wars turn-based tactics game is launching next year. Can you believe it? A couple of final things before we go. We are doing giveaways of this wonderful announcement poster here at Celebration. So don't forget to claim one in Hall 7. There are limited availability, so get one before they are gone. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to our wonderful panelists. Give them a big round of applause.
Yes. They did a great job of I wasn't hyping it up, but explaining what the game will be and what the various plot process. Overall, hey, I am interested in the game. I don't have any sort of dislike for it. They seem like reasonable, competent people. So, yeah, we'll see in the future. But until then, I want to say thank you so much for stopping by. I'll catch you in the next one. If you like what you saw here, don't be afraid to hit the like button. It's a great way to help grow the channel. And if you could share it on your favorite form of social media, that'd also be appreciated. I'll catch you guys in the next one.